Welcome everyone listening. We absolutely love you all. I forgot to put in there who we are. I am Gigi, and with me until the end is Mama Mary. As always, the week has been crazy busy. How about for you?
It was crazy busy. It's like every day there seemed like to be something that would throw a wrench in your plans.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally.
A wrench.
Yesterday, I'm looking for Lily and went to Vermontville to pick her up. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I thought that's with a friend's house. So I'm sitting in this driveway. I'm saying, I'm here. And she's like, she texts back, "Are you on Kensal?" No, because that's like 20 minutes away. And so I drive over to Kensal for her, back over in Nashville. And I pull into that driveway, and she sends me a text. "I'm on Washington Street." Seriously, right now? So that's the way my week has been, in some shape or form, every single day.
That's funny. That's Lily, and that's our Lily bad. She's just hopping all over the place. But besides, like, the crazy bad wrenches, we have been making some awesome moves for the crew and the podcast itself. So we do have some exciting things going. I know I keep saying that, but it does take time to...
It does. It takes a lot of planning and coordination. And
yes, especially when we're involving other people coming in, having our guest speakers come up, which it's going to be awesome. That's all I gotta say. So please keep listening. And because we're awesome.
Well, I'm looking forward to, starting to travel
to
places and doing podcasts.
Yes.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I know I was talking to my boss about it, and then, like I said, then he mentioned us doing, like, a live podcast where people can come watch us, get involved with the recording, and ask us questions and see us and see what we do and how we do it. So that might be something coming into play in the next few months, but we want to make it, like, freaking awesome.
Well.
And we got to get a hold of Marge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because she's got to come. But this week, we better get back on topic. This week, we are talking about children in the paranormal. So, which is, I don't know.
Well, I think it's a fascinating topic, but it can be a very sensitive topic, too. Yes. Depending on what angle you're coming from.
Yes. That's, by all means. And I think a lot of it, because there is no way to say, because we still don't know, that the paranormal is just one big question mark anyway. But when you ask other adults about children and paranormal, you either get one end of it, or you get the other, where they're totally believers, and the other ones are like, no. So I did, on our Facebook page and a couple of the other groups that we belong to on the Facebook, pretty much the consensus was, which I knew it was going to be, that they do believe that children have a more open gift to the paranormal, which I figured that's what it would be. Did you want to go with your stuff first, or?
To talk a little bit about it, for me, my belief is we continuously, after we cross over, we reincarnate. So each time we reincarnate, we do so in order to grow more spiritually and to raise our vibrations. So if you think about this, when we cross over, we go back to source, God's source, and we kind of remember who we are and what our purpose is. And so when we reincarnate and we're just little babies, that's the purest our soul is going to be, and the closest to back home it is. And so that's why children are naturally open, is because they're still connected to the other side. It's as they grow older that they're conditioned to not believe in that stuff. And we're all born with spiritual gifts. Some use them and some don't want to, or some just use them for themselves. And so that's why you're going to get those 5-year-olds and younger you see talking to imaginary friends or say they see things. It's because they really do. They're more open to it.
Now, I remember you saying in a previous episode that, how did you explain that? You said that babies and toddlers, they have that gift because they are essentially the closest to their previous life, and that's why a lot of them will come out and they will tell you what they were in their previous life because they still remember it. Yep, I'm Farmer Joe. But no, you're 2-year-old Mark. Like, that's who you are. Nope, I'm a farmer. And
well, JJ, well, he's 9 now, but he's obsessed with the Titanic. So if you find yourself obsessed with certain things, you are probably living in that time.
Okay.
And he will tell you what the Titanic looks like, and he'll tell you what he did on the Titanic. And it's funny because we'll watch some things and he goes, "That's not what it looked like," but he wasn't even realizing that he was saying it. But okay, he remembers it. And just sort of like when I was a little girl, my favorite movie was Gone with the Wind. Love that, and I still love that movie. But for me, I know that I lived there at that time in that era, and that's why it draws me. And I always said I must have been really rich one time, because I sure as hell don't like to get up and clean. I'm always waiting for someone to do it for me. Of course they don't, but
always firing the maid, which is me.
Yeah, you're fired.
See, I love the 50s, and I don't know why. Everything about it, the way that families were, even though it's completely different from the way that it is now, and I am like totally girl power type of person, but at the same time, I think the 50s had it correct with how things should have been.
And that makes sense. That's, you were probably.
And I love the style from the 50s. I'm not even going to lie about it.
It's all right.
I love my 50s dress.
But there's so many different types of children out there that have spiritual gifts. I think like one of my very first readings that I ever got, the lady asked me if I knew what a scout was, and I told her no, and she explained to me that a scout is an indigo child, but
this is my favorite one that you tell.
Born originally to help the indigo children, now to raise them spiritually and to help raise their vibrations. And a lot of indigo children, you will find them where they just don't seem to fit in anywhere, or they suffer from ADHD or Tourette's or some kind of disability. Really, there's a secret gift inside of there, and they have a high vibration, and they're meant for big things, and that's raising the world's vibration, or being psychics, or pulling other people into spirituality and helping them find the truth of God's source. Because there's more to it than just the black and white we've always been taught.
Right.
And they'll never feel like they ever fit in. I've always felt like that. I've always felt like I don't belong anywhere.
Mm-hmm. That accept you for who you are. Because, let's face it, the world is not an accepting place. And they don't even know what they're not accepting anymore. Like, that's just the crazy part. Yeah. That's why I tell my children, it's just live and do what's going to make you happy. Just make sure you're safe.
Oh, people are going to judge you anyway. So just be happy.
Mm-hmm. Might as well. Why be unhappy and get judged too? Mm-hmm. I'm crazy as all get out, but I'm happy doing it.
Well, that's right. Live in our own little bubble.
That's right. I'm talk about the indigo children. You mentioned the other day we were talking, because this is all we talk about, people. The children are. This also, I think, goes back to when you said people that are drawn to the dark magic or the dark side of witchery, that they aren't necessarily bad, but they were meant to be warriors.
Exactly, yes.
And you believe that in children. Is that what an indigo child is, or is there a different term for that?
I don't know. We would have to look that up, but it could be. It just depends on what kind of energy they draw on, or what draws them. Because paranormal can be a little bit dark, because it's spooky. But there are people out there who are there to do the dirty work, so to speak. Just like I know of psychics who, say that they have dreams where they're battling people. They're battling evil, and that's exactly what we're all here to do. That's what I think. The one thing that I do agree with the Bible on is that fight against, good and evil, the light and the dark. Evil, yeah. But in order to, you have to embrace a little bit of that darkness in order to find balance with the light.
It's understandable, especially if you're trying to protect and you have to fight for it, because if you have it, it's all good, you're going to be like, I'm not fighting. Oh, so you need that little bit of fight
you see it. You see it every day in people. Yeah. If you think about it, it's every day in some shape or form. And I think there are children that are, born to open up that gift and utilize it. It just depends on whether their parents are open enough to accept it. JJ sees spirit all the time, and I'm not once, I don't discourage it. I don't want him to lose his gift, because if he can use it, because he's told me that, a lot of times he'll have a dream or he'll see something and then it'll happen. And I asked him one time, I said, well, why do you think God gave you that gift? And he said, he goes, well, because I'm just weird. I said, no, because you're special and you're meant to help people. That's your purpose. And he's done that ever since he was like 2 or 3 years old. He's stood on chairs looking out the window laughing, and I'd ask him what he was laughing at. He'd go, Jeff is so funny. He just does so many funny things. But there's nobody out there.
Right.
He sees them.
That we can physically see.
Yeah. And, at one house, he didn't like Skylar's bedroom because there was a girl that was bloody there. And, and I knew something bad had happened in that house. But, I said, and I told him, I said, well, you just tell her to go away.
Right.
And so he said, go away. And I said, did it work? And he goes, yeah. So it's teaching them too that it's not necessarily, you can control it, and it's not something to be scared of. And, like Des, she's a star child. And I don't know if I think I've told her that before. And star children are here to change the world. They're here to inspire.
She's so scared of being judged that it's insane. But what 17-year-old is it? And
that's true.
Since she's back home, she's opening up a little more, especially with knowing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Since we got together and started this thing. I don't know why that's helping her open up, but I think she's now learning that. Again, like we said, you're going to be judged anyway, so be you. Be who you are.
That's right. Everybody has their opinions.
Yeah, she just started a blog. Did you see that?
No, I'm going to have to find it.
It's called Word Vomit. I was like, really? But it's really good. And it's, again, her trying to change the world in her own way, where she's making things, I don't want to say known, but writing articles on things in a way that people her age can understand or
that makes sense.
Can relate to or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good. Now she used to, when she was little, used to scare my cousin because we lived together, I think, in our early 20s or whatever. And I remember her being, it was 2 different times. One time, Nuffy woke up, almost like this, her eyes all big, and there was Destiny, probably 3, 4 years old, looking her right in the eyes. We're all going to die today. Sarah! What? Destiny, quit it. Then another time, she's like, oh, my mom's gonna die today. I'm not dead, but she thought, and then she used, because she was very, very pale, and she went through a lot being born, we both did. That's why she is my special child. I know that. They used to call her Chucky when she slept, because she would sleep with half of her eyes open. But she would talk in her sleep. A lot of times, I just didn't really pay attention. I wish I would have back then, but I was in my early 20s. I'm like, whatever. Quit being weird, kid. But Ethan, bless his little heart. Now, he was a dreamer. Night terrors, all that sorts of thing. And I wish, going back now, that I would have had him, keep a journal of it or, wake up, keep a recorder next to him so then he can tell about it in the recorder, that type of thing. Because night terrors were real bad. And that's when we started the dream catchers and stuff. And he said that helped. And, it very well could be just a mental thing for him. I don't know, but it helped him. And he could sleep and he wasn't afraid to go to sleep. Now, even now, he has trouble going to sleep. And I don't know if he's still not grown. Because he's 11. But he's not like your today 11-year-old. He's like an 11-year-old back when we were 11. Still got that innocence in him. Mm-hmm. And that just warms my heart. But he does still, sometimes he'll just lay there awake, and I'm like, what are you doing? There's nothing on, I just can't close my eyes. Okay. And I'm like, oh. But he's also, I just love my kids. But I think both of them are gifted. Ethan, I don't want him to lose that because I know on his other side of the family, the ones I do know, I do love. There's nothing wrong with them. But some of them are closed-minded and whatnot, and he won't tell me certain things because he's scared because he's going to get judged by his family, which is not supposed to judge you, but they do, and that makes me a little sad because if he does have a gift that he wants to explore, and like I said, I'm still in the gray area, whatever. But I'm not going to tell him it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because by all means, let's do it. I'm your number one fan, buddy. Let's bring it out. And I think he's got the biggest heart. He's meant to help people in one way or another. He just, oh God, I firmly believe that with all my being. And she is meant to change the world.
She is, yes. Yeah, and star children are very, very empathic. They have big hearts. So you see star children who would give you the shirt off their back. Or,
why.
Or if it would break their heart seeing somebody else being judged or misused. Like, they're the people that, reach out.
Ethan doesn't even like to tell me no to going to the store. And I'll tell him, you can stay here. And he'll be like, no, I don't want to hurt your feelings, Mom. And I'm like, it's okay. And then I go to the store and I buy him something because I'm like, that's the sweetest thing ever. Like, aw, he's so worried. Kids too, but he really does not want to hurt adult feelings, which is odd to me because most kids don't even care.
Yeah.
Or not that they don't care, it's just that they don't know.
Yeah, they're just not aware of even
that's his first
that.
thing, right? Is I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So a lot of times he'll keep his mouth shut even when he's got something to say. Like, dude, be loud. Let's get it out. Sorry, I just love him.
It's all right. And Jazzy, she's my indigo child. I always say that, Jazzy's my empath healer, and Lily's my psychic, and JJ's my medium. And then, Skylar's the energy worker because she can go into a room and raise the vibration. Mm. But, no, they all each have their own thing. And I just hope that even if they don't use it the way I do, mm-hmm. that, they'll do something with it.
Right, whatever path they choose.
Yeah.
Just not let it go, but...
It is. It's an interesting topic just thinking about it in general. Because it is sad that... when you see children who are gifted, that they're not encouraged to
hang on to it.
Yeah, to utilize all of it.
Because I did. There's so much I've never told you, even in conversation, that I eventually want to. Some of it's just really, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it 30-something years later. But I never had anybody, I thought it was normal, per se, because it was, okay, this weird thing happened, but I'm not going to say anything because nobody asked me about it. Maybe it just happens to everybody and it's not. Maybe it's common enough that we don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. So I didn't, and then I think I did lose a lot of... See, I sound like I'm not a skeptic when I talk like this.
Well, no, you're being open to the possibilities.
I am. Where, not that I so much lost it, but I think I lost some of it along the way. And I even had some strange things happen. Okay, I'll tell you one thing. We're kind of getting off topic, but we'll get back to it. We got time. There's always a pause button for you guys if you need to go do something. Where, let's say I gave my mom a hug. And this is going to sound so freaking weird. We'd touch foreheads. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is going to sound so weird, but this has happened to me ever since I was little. I've lost it probably within the last 10 years. Where it wasn't like a pressure, but it almost hurt, if that makes sense.
It makes sense.
When I would go, sorry, I'm going to touch you. When I do this with somebody, if I was dating somebody, I would clearly do that with them, whatever. But I would feel, I don't know, it was weird. I was getting their energy, put right in my head.
No, that's where your third eye is. So
they were poking me in the eye. That was the problem.
Well, there you go. Well, did you ever, when you did it, did you ever have things that ran through your mind? Mm-hmm. Because for me, that would be telecommunication.
Oh, man, don't make me weird. I'm just kidding. No, it's okay to be weird.
No, that's a good gift. You should, you can open it back up. You should just work on developing it again.
But it almost became not a physical pain that I couldn't handle.
It's a pressure.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is going on? But I never told anybody.
No, it was opening your third eye.
But also, I used to be that way when I touched somebody that I cared about. Mm-hmm. Well, I would touch them, and it was almost like a pressure, but a warmth I'd get from that. Not on everybody, but usually on the people that I cared about.
Yeah, it's an exchange of energy.
And I'm like, this is weird. I never said anything. I'm really opening up.
No, that's cool. You should work on developing that again. It hasn't gone away. It's just closed down. I walked away from it, and it's taken me several years to be more open and to, discover more of my gifts and what I'm stronger at. And, it took me longer to develop my psychic skills than it did the healing. I'm a natural healer.
Right.
So I'm a natural energy worker. I can move your energy and I can heal it. And, I can balance you out and I can raise your vibration so that you can get closer to your spiritual gifts. The psychic, it came easily. The belief in myself was harder for me. But, I've conquered that too.
Right. See, I never had, about my childhood, I guess, essentially, where being different wasn't okay. Per se. Which was fine. That's just how that side of my family was. It's cool. But I had to hide all that. Not hide it, but I couldn't talk about it. And it scared me, but it shouldn't have scared me now, knowing what I know now. It should not have scared me, but I had nobody to tell me what was going on. Okay, I tell you something. I've been holding on to this other one.
Oh, yeah. I'm listening.
Because I actually want to have a full episode on out-of-body experiences. When I was probably 5 or 6, and this happened a few times, but it was always at my cousin Jennifer's house, my step-cousin. And it was always when we were playing in her room, playing Barbies. Okay, let's say this is her room. She had a waterbed here, and she had the Barbie dream house over here. We were playing Barbies. But whenever I went over there, but I always remember being able to see myself play. And I was always up. My vision to be able to see myself playing with her with the Barbies always came up from the corner, up in the ceiling by where her door would open. And I'd always have to tell myself, okay, you need to get back in there now, and it was like time to go. But I don't know, did I enjoy watching myself play? Was that what I was doing?
You were astral projecting.
All the time.
And it's, yeah, that's pretty cool.
But I will remember that until the day I die. I will. And don't ask me again what I did yesterday, because I don't remember, but I will remember everything. One time I had my New Kids on the Block sweatshirt on. Like, I can remember that detail. Like, and that's just some of the crazy stuff used to happen to me when I was little all the time, but I never had anybody, My dad was a wonderful dad, but he didn't know any of that. I wasn't going to go tell him that stuff. My mom, well, they probably would have put me in an institution or something for trying to say something like that when I was that young. And I think that happens a lot, and that's why kids won't say things. Or they will say, yep, I made it up. Because there's nobody there asking them person to person instead of parent to kid or adult to kid, where that's intimidating to a kid. Get down on their level. Get down on your knee, look them, be their friend for a minute. Ask them. You're going to get the truth. Kids.
Yes, kids just want to talk.
Right.
Really, in the end, And if you think about it this way, being open about spirituality with them, it takes a lot of the fear out. Because let's be real, when it's dark and something's going bump and they can't explain it, that's where nightmares start. But if you can explain it for them with something with a way they can rationalize it,
yes,
it takes away that fear. And they might be a little creeped out, but there's no fear. There's a difference between feeling a little creepy,
right,
and being afraid.
Taught the unknown is scary, but it doesn't have to be scary because we're taught that from right the get-go. It's dark. Oh, scary. No, just get your flashlight or turn on the light. You'll see what it is. And if you can't, did it hurt you? No. Okay, you're going to be fine. Grow up and be an investigator so you can figure out what it was. Or, I don't know. We're just taught fear. We're taught fear very young and fear of things that we don't need to fear. We need to educate ourselves on. Not fear it, educate.
I know, yeah. I think it'll probably sound weird, but it's one of the reasons why I've always let my kids watch scary movies. And, in the back of your mind as a parent, you're like, well, it's not appropriate. But at the same time, they've grown up not being afraid of it. Like, it's just a movie. Now, I don't have to be afraid of it. It reminds me of that little boy that we met.
Yes.
The last podcast. And he called me the creepy girl, and I tried to bribe him with stones. And I asked him, are you still going to call me creepy girl if I give you some pretty stones? He said yes.
But with that being said, he likes creepy things.
He does.
So Mama Mary took that as a compliment, as I would too.
At first, I was like,
because he kept talking to you. He was very calmly when he was talking to you.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh my God. No, it was, Hey,
he was a riot.
I like you, creepy woman.
I know. He was so funny. He goes, oh, it's a scary girl. And then he wanted to see the creepy girl, and he was talking about my portrait. I was like, hey.
Oh, yeah, your picture.
That was great.
That was cute. He's a cutie.
Well, with that, you can definitely tell that he has gifts because he's open to it. And I find it fascinating that he was so into it. Like, for him, he liked that.
Well, yeah, he knew exactly what he was talking about. Like, he had that confidence. How old is he, 3?
Almost 3.
Okay,
yeah.
I was going to say, yes, I was telling Des about him, and I said, if he is 3, he's just 3, but he had a conversation with Mama Mary, like, full board confidence behind him, like, he knew what he was talking about. You're lying, because, well, first of all, he's not even 3, and he just had the confidence of a grown person telling you something, like he studied something forever, and it's like, well, okay, don't question this kid.
His mom's doing a great job with him because he's going to stay open because she allows him to be, you know, but... Yeah, he was super cute. I fell in love. He was. I fell in love.
Aw, he'll be our little mascot.
I'm gonna squeeze his cheeks.
Yeah, cheeks out. Okay, so in my research that I did this week, I went a little here and there because most of it just pretty much said, well, it's because kids watch too many movies and they make up stories. So it was like, due to media and popular culture, people usually will say that the reason why the young claim to see spirits is because of these movies like The Exorcist, The Poltergeist, the new one that came out not that long ago called Mama. But what are these? Because when they're talking about children, they're talking about like preschool age children. So we're talking like 4 or 5. Why? I'm not sure I'd let my kid at 4 or 5 watch Poltergeist.
Yeah, no.
You know, maybe 10 or 11. Now, yeah, they're going to see things, because I have nightmares of it. And it's things out of the movie, you know, so well, don't let them watch it in the first place. But if they're telling you that, hey, somebody comes and visits me every night, ask them questions. Don't say, no, they don't. Ask them. Have them write it down. And if they can write down these details, which most of them can, that you know they can't just make up, because most of them, if you ask... And I've read some of the interviews that psychologists and whatnot have had with these children. Now, the ones that do have imaginary friends, that's one way to be able to tell. Describe them. They have to think about the description because they are making what they want it to be. Now, if they're like, okay, so this young girl that comes to play with you, Margaret, you know, when you're in your room, you know, what color hair does she have? They'd be like blonde and blue eyes. And, you know, they can rattle that stuff out. That's how they say you can tell the difference between a imaginary friend and an actual spirit coming to visit your child or playing with your child. Most of them aren't going to hurt, you know, especially if they're playing, you know, but if your child does come to you and say they're mean, whatever, even if you're not a believer, but your child says this, would you suggest that they just say, tell their child, tell whatever the name is, to stop, you're scaring me. Even if you don't believe, don't tell your kid that they're full of crap. Because we don't know, even though you don't believe, we ultimately don't know.
Yeah, because I'll do that with JJ.
What's that going to hurt, even if you don't believe?
Because I think we had a conversation one day, and he was talking about it started out because he was trying to creep out his sisters for once, because he was like, I see dead people, and they're like, oh my gosh, they, you know, he got the reaction. Yeah. But then he was talking about that, you know, he didn't like sleeping upstairs because there's a little boy that touches his foot. And I said, well, you need to tell him to stop, that you don't like that.
Don't touch me.
And then he said, okay. And then he was talking about a bad dream he was having about Chucky.
Oof.
And so I told him, I said, okay. I said, well, when you wake up from those dreams, you tell him that you don't like that and he's not going to be in your dream anymore. He goes, I did. When I woke up, I said that if he wanted to be in my dreams, he had to play nice. He goes, and when I went back to sleep, he played nice. We just played. I said, see? He goes, yeah. He goes, you're right. It's something that, and maybe it's just a psychological thing. He took control over the situation, and he created what he wanted out of it.
Right. And even if it wasn't real and he did manifest that in his brain, you just taught him, though, stand up for yourself in good good change can come from that. He's not going to be timid from other things. So you have to think of the whole big picture, as she taught him a lesson, not so much, not only in the spiritual world, though, but also...
Yeah, to draw your lines. Yeah. Have your boundaries.
I'm 37, and she's still trying to teach me that. I'm like, but I can't say no. Okay, so in this article, I wanted to read this blurb out of this article, because I don't know how it makes me feel, and I want to know how it makes you feel. When a generally terrified and wide-awake child tells his mother or father that she saw a scary, shadowy man outside her door or window, there's a good chance they might take it seriously, especially if they are among the nearly 40% of Americans who believe in haunted houses. This, of course, only feeds and reinforces the child's fears. See, to me, what that's saying is that 40%, that's kind of a slap in the face. They're saying 40% of Americans are full of BS because they believe in this stuff. To me, that's how I took that. That part. Is that how?
Yeah, that's...
It doesn't have to be a fear. They're not reinforcing the fear.
No, not at all.
Not if you acknowledge. Just because you acknowledge does not mean that you're reinforcing it.
Well, if you don't acknowledge it, that's when the fear builds, because nobody acknowledged the fear, so they're sitting there thinking about it all by themselves.
Not knowing and not being educated about it, and not... Yeah. That leaves so many what ifs. Now, if you acknowledge it and talk to them about it, do a little research, what have you. Like I said, even if you're a skeptic, what is it going to hurt? It's not going to hurt nothing to do it and to try to help your child. And if you think that they're going to eventually grow out of it, this will just help that stage in their life then, to me.
Yep.
You know, I'd do anything for my kids. If I totally didn't believe any of this stuff and I wanted nothing to do with the paranormal, but Destiny came to me and said, Mom, told me that she saw a shadowy person and they come there the same time every night. Well, that time every night, I'm going to be in her room with her. And we're going to try to figure out what it is together. I'm not going to tell her she's crazy, because then, to me, that would make It
brings in, like, self-doubt.
Yes. You're going to make your child very timid that way. To me, I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but to me, that I believe that's where, I want to say parents go wrong, because I'll get hated for that, but essentially, just because you don't believe it doesn't mean your kid has to either, or not, but back them up, even if you don't.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. That kind of really made me angry reading that, because I'm like, oh, you can't just say that and then that's it. Like, there's nothing past that as to why this person that wrote this felt that way.
They just wrote that. It's just an opinion. Yeah.
Which is fine, because paranormal is mainly opinions to me anyway, because there's nothing in black and white saying it is or it's not, but that's what makes the investigations fun, the hunting's fun, the learning, the experiencing it fun, because you never know. Each experience is different, and that makes it so cool to me. It keeps me wanting to keep going with it, whatever. What you got?
Oh, I was just going to talk about, some things, there's a lot of things where, if you're wondering if your child has gifts, where they're, characteristics like being highly sensitive emotionally and physically to other people, places, or things, where, they're very sensitive to other people's feelings, or if their friends are sad, it affects them emotionally. And, unexplained mood swings, very intelligent, but can easily be distracted, where they just can't seem to focus. Sort of like I did when, before we started recording, all of a sudden I felt energy move behind me, and I kind of went, off, dazed and confused.
And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you?
And I couldn't think straight. It's those kind of things where, being sensitive to that. And when they're young, if you recognize some of those things, you can teach them meditation and how to ground themselves. So while they can have those experiences, they can also stay well grounded and centered and not be all over the place. I feel like there's a lot of kids out there who are diagnosed with ADHD who really just have some spiritual gifts, but everything about that is closed off. So instead of developing those gifts and learning how to control them and harness them, they're given medication. Like, Jocelyn's ADHD, and she hasn't taken her medication.
I'm looking at you really?
Yeah.
So she probably has the same, like how they tried to diagnose Ethan. because they're not loud, they're not rambunctious by any means, they're not hyperactive. The doctor I went to said they
can't
don't
focus.
Right, they don't have ADD no more. That's not. There's ADHD and then like 2 levels of ADHD, and yeah, because either he's always daydreaming out the windows. That's what all the teachers say. Okay, how are his grades? Good. Is he disruptive? No. Why am I here? Like, he's daydreaming about things. I'm not gonna tell. I can't tell him to stop.
Well, another sign is like, a vivid imagination, planning, or night terrors. That's another sign that's because they're astral planing while they're sleeping. They go somewhere else, and we all do that. The astral realm. But Jazzy, she hasn't taken her medicine 4 or 5 years. I didn't like how she was just not herself.
Ethan came to me 3 months into it, Mom. I'm not Ethan. That's what he said. I'm not Ethan. Okay, we're done.
Yep.
We're done.
Because I told her, I said, if you can get decent grades without it, then
that's exactly
you don't need it.
Yeah. Me and Ethan, and we'd have a little Mommy Ethan meeting every morning, and then from that time on, it was good. Because I almost tell him, even, keep yourself grounded. Okay, this is what we're going to do today. We're going to have a good day. Now remember, when you start feeling that way, think about Mom being here, and we're talking. Okay? We're talking face to face. Now, remember that. We got to stay focused, at least while you're at school. When you come home, it's different. I'll let you be yourself. You want to just look out the window and imagine things, go for it. Awesome. Then draw them out, because he would draw such beautiful pictures of these things that weren't here, but he drew the, what do I want to say, the details in these pictures that he would draw would be like perfect. And he knew what he was saying and how to get it on paper, so I could see it too. He wanted to share it. What he was saying, beautiful things. I'm not. The teacher's always wanting to be like, okay, look, is he throwing crap at you? No. Okay, is he fighting? No. This is crazy. He gets his homework in, so everything's good. You just don't really like my child. Really, is essentially how I got, like, the personalities clash. Yeah. That's fine. You're gonna clash. And I would tell that to Ethan. And no, still only being 11, you're not gonna get along with every teacher. Man, I would never say I don't like a teacher. And that warms my heart, but at the same time, like, oh man, he's gonna get his heart broke so much. Because this teacher this past year, and if you're listening, I'm sorry. You were not nice to my child for all the wrong reasons. And we did our part. We held up our end of the bargain to make things easier for him. You did not. Principal got involved. Got better for him for a little bit, because the principal knew what was going on. Anyway, I'm getting way off track.
Oh.
But he does have gifts, and it's people like his teacher that just shut them down. Shut them down. So, because I don't ever want to tell kids there's a place to do this and there's not a place, but that's essentially what it is. Because not everybody's ready for...
Well, I think, too, that that's why a lot of kids start losing their gifts, is once they go to school, they're conditioned for something completely different. Completely different. And, I got bad grades in school, but I'm highly intelligent. And so I think good grades are overrated. Yes. Very overrated.
It's all about test.
Yeah. And
not how you take a test.
How you take a test is not going to get you through the real world.
No. Well, taking a test, you're cramming in this knowledge. You're not really learning anything. What you are doing is memorizing this for this test, and then you throw that crap out.
And all that memorizing, that pushes away that spiritual gift and being open to that. And, just there's so many good qualities about spirituality and being open to all the possibilities that we should be sharing that not only with each other, but with our children. Raise them to be good people.
Yes. See, there are over-the-top people when it comes to the spiritual world or community.
There's definitely people who take it to extremes.
But there is a happy medium where I believe all people of difference, because ultimately, whether you are... There's some words I just don't want to say. Whether you hate this person for this reason or this group for that reason, whatever reason, really, we're coexisting together whether you like it or not. Why not make it halfway decent? Why we're on this planet.
Well, there's
find
some,
that happy medium.
Religions that will take it to extreme. Not like not religions like, specific religions, but I remember growing up with a best friend, and the only way, her mom was a pastor, and the only way I could hang out with her is if I went to their church. But I remember sitting there one night with an earache, and her and a big group of men stood around me and threw holy water on me and put their hands on me and started praying to God. Scared the crap out of me.
Oh my goodness.
Scared the crap right out of me. And, then she came back and asked if my earache was gone. It wasn't.
No, I got an earache and I'm scared shitless.
She scared the crap out of me, so I told her, yeah. And, for me, that was extreme. And she's like, the God has saved your soul and took away your pain. And I'm thinking, this isn't.
Well, I was out in the freaking wind.
And I remember my mom, she had just had hip surgery a couple of weeks before that. And we were at a store, and we walked out, and it was the same woman, and she dropped to her knees in the middle of the sidewalk and put her hands all over my mom praying. So I think it doesn't matter where you are, there's always going to be something that's taken to extreme.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because not all religions are like that.
No.
She was extreme.
Right. And see, that's what I think it's great. Every religion, whatever you feel, and you're that passionate about it, oh my gosh, you have my respect. I think that's a great thing. But I don't want to say that, as I said in the house, that not everybody is ready for certain things of this world that we can't see or to hear about it. Like if you are walking down the street and somebody that is spiritually open sees a spirit or sees your aura, and they go up and tell you, and you're like, what? Because I've had people come up and tell me that. Even New York City, walking down 40 Deuce, and woman comes up, you radiate yellow. What? Well, I was 26, 27. Is this lady talking about? Oh my God. I wasn't ready to hear that. I had no idea what she was talking about. I'm like, whoa, this lady's crazy. When you have that gift, you don't always have to tell everybody. Because
you don't have to share it with everybody.
Right. There's a world out there that isn't ready for that. Just because you're on that level, not everybody is. And that's really no different than scaring a little kid going, there is a monster under your bed. To me.
Yeah.
It's because some of us just aren't ready to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless we come up and ask you, I really don't want to hear about it.
Well, I'm gonna read off some some things or if you're curious, this either can pertain to the listeners if they're wanting to see if they have gifts, or signs that your child does. Like we talked about being highly sensitive emotionally and physically, extremely creative, intelligent but easily distracted. Those mood swings where sometimes all of a sudden they're happy, but then all of a sudden they're mad. I get that a lot. Mm-hmm. And you could say it's because it's Shark Week or I'm a female, but a lot of times it's being around.
I've heard that before, and I'm like, why would somebody say Shark Week? And then I just now got it. I love in town. Yeah. That is funny.
Yeah.
I'm always like, I love watching Shark Week. That's why I got all those weird looks. See, and some people are just naive like me. You can't just go around saying things. Well,
but sometimes it's taking on a mood of somebody else.
Okay,
changing that mood swing, and then they taking the pain, or challenges for others, where they can sense someone struggling, and you not watch them naturally take over. So that other person doesn't have to struggle. Vivid dreams. Not being able to fall asleep. Not wanting to go to bed. Fear of the dark. I am very afraid of the dark. I am very afraid of the dark. Or, they're very curious about their deceased loved ones. Or they tell you that they see spirits. Imaginary friends. Fascinated by another culture or time period. Ancient civilization. Because, and they intuitively know a great deal about it. Mm-hmm. That shows that they have spiritual gifts. Getting overwhelmed by energy, prone to headaches, anxiety, fatigue, feeling isolated, from peers, even ridiculed, made fun of for being weird. They remember and talk about past lives or going to places they've never been. or just going somewhere and feeling like it's familiar. And then
it's something different than just what do they call that?
Deja vu. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Just like a feeling of coming home. Mm-hmm. Or other people make them nervous. Separation anxiety. They, being able to quickly absorb the vibrations of other people. Kind of like, that is one of my greatest gifts. I can read a person just like that. They can walk into a room and I will know what they're feeling, how they're feeling. I can just feel that vibe. I can feel when a vibe changes, and, or I can have somebody, I've done it at work where I ask them what's wrong and they're like, how did you know something's wrong? You're not even looking at me. I said, I can feel you. And, it's just the way it is. We should pay attention to this in ourselves as well as our children and encourage them to delve into it and develop it, because a lot of these traits are good traits.
They are.
And that's what we're here for.
If you don't know how to use them, or I don't want to say control them, but learn to live with them, it could turn into something bad, like severe anxiety and stuff, because I hate this, and that's what I told Amanda. I said it's a curse, because being an empath, if I'm around somebody happy, that's great, but you get around somebody that's sad, or just an angry person, or just a bad person, they don't come off as bad, but you feel that. I've gotten physically sick before, and it's a horrible, horrible thing. And my kids are the same way, but I don't know how to deal with it yet, so I can't help them, because I don't know how. I've tried. I've been on medications for the anxiety and stuff, and I wake up with anxiety. I go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Are you going to bed stressed? You know what? I don't stress about nothing. I should. I worry, but I fix it so I don't have to stress. I fix the issues that would normally stress me out, so I don't generally stress. So when I wake up with an anxiety attack that I think I'm having a heart attack or I can't breathe, what the hell? Wake me up in the middle of the night, whatever. My kids suffer the same thing, but because I don't know how to deal with it, I can't help them, and that frustrates me. And it frustrates me because I know that part, at least the spiritual world, is real, because to me, it's real, because I experience that part of it. Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm going to pick and choose what I believe.
Hey, doesn't everybody?
I mean, it just...
But yeah, if you think about it, putting a different spin on what it is versus, I think I'm crazy, or I'm just always anxious, I'm just sick, there's something wrong with me. If you put it in perspective of, no, I'm just sensing what's around me, it gives it a new light.
Mm-hmm. It does, because the medication made me flat. I wasn't sad, I wasn't happy, I was nothing. I was here, that was it.
Yeah.
I don't want this. I took it for 3 months. I'm good. I got off everything. I was 31, 32, went to the doctors, taking nothing, had a checkup, left taking 9 different things. And not even just, they didn't tell me I was crazy. Now people are like, whoa. No, it was, I had the sleeping issue, I had the waking up with the anxiety. Well, there's a drug for that, there's a drug for this. I took all the medications until my blood pressure and stuff went down, and I got that all under control. I was good to go. I'm like, no, I'm going to figure out a way at least for the anxiety. I don't want any of this. The anxiety is the thing that bothers me the most, because that can cripple me per se, when I'm shopping or because I can pass out from it. Mm-hmm. It just, so I learned how to ground myself, as you would say, where, okay, I'm going to take a second. I may look ridiculous. I take my deep breath and out. And I do that until everything's calm. My heart rate's back to normal. Mm-hmm. Just everything's back to normal. And that's what I've had to teach Ethan to do, because his anxiety got super bad. And again, with the teacher, she's like, I don't know where he gets this thinking that he's got anxiety, blah, blah, blah. And I've never said anything to him. A doctor mentioned it to me. He heard it. She said, I don't think he's got ADHD. I think he's got anxiety. We just got to figure out a way to
calm it down,
work with it. And I explained to her how I do it. Okay, that's good, because I went the other doctor, pill pushers, then I went to one that's anti-pill. I prefer that, because we're going to work on other ways first, and then we would look for medication.
Exactly. Yep.
So that's what, he will do the breathing technique and stuff. But that works for me. Everybody's different. You may have to take yourself out of the complete situation, but also, if your kid's going through that, help them. Take them out of that situation. If you're in the Walmart, and they're like, whoa, maybe that tantrum isn't a tantrum. Maybe that's an anxiety attack. Take them out to your car. Read them a book real quick. Sing them a song. Rock them. Comfort them. That's what they need. Not, I'm going to spank you and blah, blah, blah. Maybe there's too much, if this is what it is, spirit going on when you're in a busy place. There's a lot of spirit going on. There's a lot of energies being passed, even from people that we physically see, being an empath. Maybe your child's a severe empath, and they're taking all that on. That's overwhelming. The only thing they know to do is cry.
Yep.
Help them. I'm really making sense to myself
you are,
today.
See? Holy shit.
Wow. Man, this is good.
I know.
So I got one. We're talking about kids with the gifts and whatnot. A article that I came across that I thought was pretty neat was, I guess I'll just read that. Those with autism are often first to recognize the paranormal.
That makes sense.
I thought that, and I was like, very interesting. I thought that's a new way to think of it, because a lot of people, when they think autism, people that have never had to work with or have a child, or I don't want to say dealt with, because that, to me, that just is weird, but, or loved someone that was diagnosed with autism, you're looking at because there's so many different levels of autism, and people that have never had to see it or be around it are like, well, they just need more spankings, or they're not, blah, blah, blah. That has absolutely nothing to do with it. Keep your mouth shut. You don't know what you're talking about. That's as plain as I can put that part of it.
Oh, yeah.
But I never thought about them being able to, being special as they already are. This makes them even more special if this is really true. And I think that, I'm not saying it's true, but it's a great possibility after reading the article that I read. So
I could definitely see it, yeah.
And like I said, there's different levels and whatnot, and it was just phenomenal. It says these children have so many great gifts and can teach us patience, which is a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
Parents of children or caretakers of children with autism, you guys rock. Like, they're angels on earth, I think, because it does take a lot of patience to, well, anybody that takes care of somebody else is an angel on earth, I think, because you're caring for somebody else that really needs you. So,
well, it definitely takes a special person.
Yes, because they do have their own ways of seeing the world and communicating, whether it be to a child their age or even adults with autism. They have their own way of communicating. Now, kind of take it in a different perspective, maybe with some of their fits that they have or episodes that they have, it's something paranormal going on around them. But they don't know how to tell you that.
Yeah.
Because we didn't teach them that. I'm not saying, okay, everybody go teach your kid about paranormal. That's not your belief. You're not going to, but make it known.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because, they're eventually going to be 18 and be out and experience things on their own anyway and watch scary movies. Scary movie that's based on paranormal, because stuff we don't know. So, I mean, the thing with the autism, I'll just read right from the article because I don't really know how to, I'll piece things from the article. As if you have one of these special children, you may have noticed that things happen around your house. No, I'm not talking about the normal things in a child-filled home. I'm talking about unusual things, ghostly things, things that go bump in the night. It would appear as if unseen beings, like autistic children, that's weird, that was just a sentence, because they process information and see the world differently. Autistic children are more likely to see strange things. They often witness activities way before anyone else in the home. They are more sensitive to nuances and they cannot lie. So when they look at the ceiling and react as if someone is talking to them, then you know you are dealing with the truth. They really are seeing and hearing something. Naturally, you shouldn't assume it's a ghost when such a thing happens. You must always consider the possibility of a hallucination. Medications or mental illness certainly can have that effect. However, when others see and hear the same things, then you have to consider other possibilities, like the paranormal. We do have a story here. It says, Melissa is a single mom to 12-year-old autistic Daniel. From the time he was little, Daniel would look up at the ceiling and react to some invisible being. As he got older, Daniel would draw pictures of an old man in a cowboy hat and say things like, "He here." He'd point to the picture and then the ceiling. With time, Melissa became worried about her son's mental health and took him to a neurologist who found nothing wrong but referred Daniel to a psychiatrist. Though Daniel showed no other signs of psychosis other than seemingly seeing something in the home, the psychiatrist said Daniel was psychotic. Yeah, this one made me a little angry. This was a real blow, and Melissa was devastated. Yet Daniel wasn't the only family member to see the old cowboy. Even though Melissa hadn't seen him, her mother had. And Daniel's 9-year-old brother had seen and heard the man as well. It wasn't until a neighbor saw the cowboy that Melissa began to believe there was more at work than the psychosis. Living in Texas, it wasn't a stretch that you might see an apparition of a cowboy, and Melissa began asking questions about the area where her family lived. She never did find out if anyone had died on the property, but after asking around, she found there were other people in the neighborhood who had strange things happening in their homes too. They talked about the things moving on their own, doors being slammed when the windows were closed. Melissa is convinced that her family has contact with the paranormal. She is very angry that her son was labeled as a psychotic when he clearly was not. Since coming to terms with it, Melissa said the activity lessened. So something went on in her home, whether paranormal or not. Her son saw something unusual before anyone else did. Was it his autism that allowed him to do so?
It's fascinating.
It is. So maybe autism really essentially is a link.
It could be.
A link to...
Well, they say that, special needs are God's children.
Mm-hmm.
That when you look into their eyes, you see the eyes of God. And I believe that's true.
So maybe that's essentially what it is. That they are a link to that world. Because we're humans and we have so many faults, we shut that possibility out.
Mm-hmm. And they don't.
Mm-hmm.
They're just naturally open.
Mm-hmm. Aww. I think that psychologist she took him to needs to be fired, but I didn't like that at all. There are some other ones, but it says young children don't have the limitations of life and belief systems installed fully. They haven't been taught that ghosts don't exist, so that limitation isn't there as far as to why they see ghosts or think they see things. See, we could go on forever, and it's because we don't know things. We try to know things. In the paranormal, a lot of it comes down to actually not even researching or educating yourself on things. It comes down to experience.
It does.
Experiencing things.
Mm-hmm.
And then taking that out further. But us being... I do firmly believe that we are taught that, okay, if there isn't an answer, it's not real. Like, parents will cut their kids off real quick when they ask about a ghost. Or, hey, I see Grandpa. Okay, no you didn't. He died 10 years ago. Yeah, he's right here. Nope, we cut that off. You only got on medication. Or, nope, don't ever say that again. Like, and we totally cut that off so that those children do shut that down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they have no other option. Because, well, you have to listen to your parents. So they say. Just kidding, I listen to mine. Let's see. There was just so much, really. And the problem with this, it's not really a problem. But it was... I got a lot of, I don't want to say negative, but negative things in my research. Like, okay, this was kind of a science thing. Says infants can see things that adults cannot. See, over time, our brains start filtering out details deemed unimportant. So our brains naturally condition themselves to where, okay, if we can't rationalize that, we're not even going to pay attention. It never happened. But it does. Like, it did happen. Just because we can't rationalize it doesn't mean that, but I think chemically, the science part of it, we're chemically made that way.
Yeah.
Essentially, you just got to find out how to fight that. So they did this test. It says when babies are just 3 to 4 months old, they can pick out image differences that adults never notice. But after the age of 5 months, the infants lose their super sight abilities. It says don't get too jealous of the superior discrimination that infants have. However, the reason adults or even babies older than 8 months don't have it is because over time our brains learn what differences are important to notice. I thought that was interesting, especially they're still a baby. Mm-hmm. To know that. I thought that was really neat to just kind of think about.
It is.
And how our brain, because the brain is such a powerful thing, it's going to tell us that it's not there when it is there. So we may be living in a completely different world if you think about it. Like,
get it? Think about it?
Zing.
Oh, snap.
See, this is where, like, conspiracy theories start coming in, and that would lead us to a whole nother thing. But essentially, conspiracy theories and the paranormal could so go in together, it's ridiculous. But they did this test. So I will get these pictures back off the website and then put them on the page so that everybody can see it. There's a picture of A, B, and C, each of a snail. So it says, for example, when adults look at the images of a snail, they typically say that glossy snail A and the glossy snail B are the most similar. The matte-looking snail C seems to be the outlier, but a baby can tell that snail B and snail C are actually more similar. Though it is hard for adults to see, snail A stands out from the others. That the surface of the snail reflects very different lighting conditions. Babies are more sensitive to that seemingly trivial image difference. We learn to ignore certain types of differences so that we can recognize the same object as unchanging in many varied scenarios.
Interesting.
That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So that they can see. They're actually a lot more intelligent as a baby. As far as visually, they clearly can't speak to us, but they know they can tell differences of things. I just thought that was really, really cool, because when I looked, I'm like, well, yeah, A and B. Online, they're clearly colored, but yeah, it was neat. And then I was like, one of these things is not like the others, but it's probably not the one you think. Researchers based in Tokyo, Japan, explored the ability of a very young child by testing 42 infants between the ages of 3 and 8 months old. Since these babies can't yet talk, the researchers tracked their perception of images based on how long the babies stared at each image. Previous research has shown that when a baby sees something they consider new, they stare longer. Objects that are familiar would only merit a passing glance. The time difference in gaze showed that the 3 and 4 month old babies noticed the difference in the pixel intensity and were less impressed with the differences in the surfaces, whether the images were glossy or matte, that is. But by the time the infants were 7 to 8 months old, their vision was closer to that of an adult, and they could no longer see the pixel difference. Well, that
interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was. Well, I think it was neat that they did a study like that, too. Okay, we're going to show them 3 things that we know are there because it's a picture of something, and see how it is.
Yeah.
To be able to tell the difference. And I think it was really cool that the babies could tell the difference before an adult. Scientists call this type of change perceptual narrowing, meaning that the attention focuses in and people can miss out on certain differences. It's a normal part of the development of the brain and vision. Another study showed that babies younger than 6 months of age could recognize different monkeys by their faces alone, whereas adults and even 9-month-olds could only recognize human faces. Says the loss of sensitivity isn't anything to mourn, however. The babies are keying into a difference that amounts to light changes, not a change in the object itself. Adults instead recognize that this is the same snail, even if the environment around it has shifted in some way. Ignoring that the relatively meaningless difference is a way that humans tune our perception to our environment, allowing us to navigate it efficiently and successfully. And say, even if it left a large portion of reality forever outside our research, she adds. In other words, babies might be able to see things adults can't, but adults more fully understand what they do see. See, they do, but they don't, because we change things that we do not like.
Mm-hmm. We see what we want.
Right, because we're human and that's what we do. We're not going to see something that we don't want to see.
Yeah.
We're going to try to make it something that is comforting to us, for the most part. Here are some tips for what I would personally do if I were a parent of a psychic child. I wish I would have remembered that, because that would have worked. So, if you do believe that your child has psychic abilities, from what Mama Mary read earlier, says, don't encourage your child to interact with or make friends. What? I don't know if I like that. Should they not interact?
I don't know. I guess it would depend.
I guess I'll just read it anyway. I have heard of some parents who encourage the child to talk to the lost spirit, as if it's some long-lost ancestor. I personally wouldn't encourage that. I feel that there is really no place for that lost spirit in a child's room or around a child. There is a place for guardian angels and spirit guides, but not for lost spirits.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, because they could be scary.
Mm-hmm.
Not meaning to, but if a spirit chooses to show itself to the child, and he's trying to get a message across and not being mean.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that would be a personal preference, I guess. I don't know. I would personally have a medium come in and sit with my child and
explain it.
Yeah, explain it, but also see if the child can call that spirit there, so then the medium can get involved as well. And to see if the spirit would communicate with the medium. That way you have somebody that kind of knows that world and knows how to deal with it. And maybe explain it to the child too. Yeah. But also, because the child's not going to be like, go away forever. My mom told me to tell you that. You know, maybe the medium could do it in a nice... I don't know. Maybe I'm just rambling. It says, explain to your child what she is seeing. Yes, this probably involves explaining what happens when we die if you haven't already. You should explain that some souls do not want to go to heaven straight away and instead wait around for someone they loved, and occasionally they get lost and go where they shouldn't. I personally wouldn't make up a lie because your child will sense it and will be confused. And confusion can breed fear. Yeah. So what do you feel about that? Make spirits seem less scary. I remember when I was little, I was very scared of spiders. For some reason, I became less scared of them when my father explained that spiders are more scared of us than we are them. They seem less fearsome when I knew that. When I clear these lost spirits from locations and auras, they do sometimes seem pretty terrified. So you could tell your child that usually spirits are scared of us as we are them. Plus, we as humans have all the power. Lost spirits are pretty much powerless. They can't do anything to hurt us. I also remember my father once saying to me, it's not the dead who can hurt us. Try to make it as normal as possible, but you could also touch on the fact that it's not okay to talk about it to just anyone. That goes back to what we're saying too. Because some people can't see the spirits and will think that you're making it up. Hopefully these tips should make the experience of sensing or seeing a spirit less traumatic for your child. But if they don't, here's a final tip. Remind your child that he or she is in control. No, that's really... I thought that was pretty good. Basic. That's a lot of good information. Yeah, but they kept it basic so where a parent wouldn't be so overwhelmed and be like, oh my gosh. Well, yeah, it's helping them take the fear out of the situation. So anyway, we're going to get going. Stay tuned for videos and whatnot on the Facebook. Write in your stories, comments, complaints, whatever you may have to paranormalxl@writeme.com. Look us up on Facebook, Paranormal XL, capital X, capital L, or @XL Paranormal. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for listening and putting up with us. That's for sure. Oh. Yeah, don't forget. Don't yuck somebody else's yum. Ever.